There are 4 keys to unlocking your investing capabilities. There are 4 things that hold the vast majority of people back from investing. This goes for millennials. This goes for anyone looking to invest into their future and invest in the stock market and real estate, investing in any sort of way possible. There are 4 things that are holding people back, especially millennials. What are those 4 things? Well, let me give you some stats here. So half of all Americans, half of all Americans don't invest in anything. And now when I say don't invest in anything or don't invest in general, most people invest in stocks, so I'm relating it to the stock market. So half of all Americans essentially don't invest any money in the stock market whatsoever. Okay? That is a ridiculous stat. Now guess what the number is for millennials. Okay? So this is 50% of adults. Now, guess what it is for millennials? People ages 18 to 35. How many people invest their money? Guess what? Okay, so 75% don't invest. People aged 18 to 35, 75% have never invested a single dollar. What's holding them back? What's probably holding you back? That's what this video is about. It's about unlocking those 4 things, telling you what the 4 things that you will need to change, what 4 things you will need to do to start investing properly, maybe in the stock market, maybe in real estate, maybe in a lending, maybe in whatever other way you want to invest. But I'm going to talk mainly about the stock market. So guess what the first thing is? What's the first objection that millennials have for like a reason why they don't invest? Why they don't invest in the stock market? Okay? So this is for 25% of these people. 25% of the people that don't invest do it because they don't have knowledge. 25% just don't know enough about the stock market. Now, odds are if you're watching this video, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you probably have a decent amount of knowledge about the stock market. You know at least enough to get started. And if you don't, you can check out my stock market program, link below. But 25% of people don't even bother to invest because they don't have knowledge. They have everything else. Everything else is in line, but 1 out of 4 millennials that don't invest whatsoever don't do it because they just don't even bother to look into it. Okay? That's just terrible. Not putting in the time. Like these people here, if they were to even put in a few hours, put in 5, 10 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, just to learn a little bit about investing, at the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, 30, 35, that could be the difference between you being a 100,000-aire when you're 60, or a millionaire, or even a multi-millionaire if you're really good at it by the time you're 60, 65, 70 years old. So 25% are held back by lack of knowledge in the stock market. So what do you think the next one is? The next objection. So this is 10%. 10% of people, of millennials who don't invest in the stock market, do it from lack of trust. Lack of trust. They don't trust the people that invest. They don't trust their financial advisors. They don't trust their brokerage. They just don't trust enough people. They don't trust people like me. They don't trust people like all the other stock people on YouTube, all the investment pros on YouTube. They don't trust anyone enough to actually invest their money. Now, part of that's understandable. I've made lots of videos about how financial advisors and investment firms and mutual funds, they try to rip you off. But guess what? I'm not ripping you off, all right? A bunch of other YouTube people, they're not ripping you off. We're just sharing information. You can get a bunch of information on YouTube about the stock market and just learn for yourself, invest for yourself. You don't have to go to the bank and trust a financial advisor who's going to take 2% of your money every year. You don't have to do that. Lack of trust, okay? I don't even recommend trusting a lot of the banks out there. I don't recommend trusting a lot of the brokers out there. This is actually a little bit understandable. Lack of trust. But here's the thing, you only need to trust yourself at the end of the day. Once you learn enough about the market, once you learn enough about investing, you don't have to listen to anyone else. You can just go around, plug your ears, invest in whatever you want with your own money. There's only a $7 fee if you want to do the stock market. Of course, you can do your full control in real estate, which I love, investing in real estate. You have full control over everything. You don't have to trust anyone apart from maybe real estate agent and the seller of the property and maybe the inspector of the building. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust yourself. You got to trust yourself You got to invest by yourself. You got to be your own, you got to control your own money. You shouldn't be giving your money to someone else for them to invest for you. You should be investing it yourself so that you have full control over it, okay? So 10% of the people 10% of the 3/4 of millennials that don't invest do it because they lack trust, okay? 10% don't do it because of risk. 10% don't even consider it because it's risky. I mean, I've told this story about so this was the year in second or third year university, somewhere around there, maybe first year, I don't know. It was in university, and that was the year where I made, $5,000 to $8,000 to $10,000, somewhere around there in the stock market in 1 year, and it helped pay for a lot of my living expenses, and I got sick, so it was able to pay for drugs and medication, hospital stuff. And so that, I remember telling my lab partner at the time, who, by the way, if you're going to, most people in university and sciences don't know anything about the stock market. They don't do any sort of investing or, financial planning. They're just planning on having a stable job, 401k, boom, you're done. You're done in 40 years. So I was talking about how I wanted to be a stock market investor. I always wanted to invest in the stock market. I wanted to be an investment firm manager, maybe a hedge fund manager. That was one of the things that I wanted to do at that time. And I was talking to her about it. And I said, have you ever invested in the stock market? And she said, no. She said, no. And I asked why. She said, well, isn't that like the riskiest thing? It's like gambling with your money. And I said this. Not if you know what you're doing. Those were my exact words. If you know what you're doing, sure, there is some risk, but there are ways to invest in the stock market like me where it's very, very low risk, and then there's ways like the penny stock guys over there, which most people think is stock market investing. There's the penny stock guys over there where that's like gambling with your money. You can either double up or go to zero. That's usually the two variables. It's binary in penny stocks. You rarely have slow static growth in penny stocks. It's either you double up or you lose all of it. And that's what a lot of people think of that when they don't know anything about the stock market. Okay? And so 10% of people, it's risk. And this goes for any sort of investing too. I mean, real estate, if you put down 20 grand into an investment property, that could get whatever hit by a tornado. It could be set on fire. You could have bad tenants that don't pay you. All right, that's risky too. Every single investment comes with risks. So are you willing to tolerate those risks? That's the question here. And how can you keep those risks down? I always say invest in safe stocks. Don't go penny stocks. Invest in multifamily rental units. All right? Multifamily rental units. Don't do fixer-uppers. I don't even look at buildings that are beyond the age of 50 years, essentially. I don't want to deal with any of those old building problems. Don't even look at condos. Invest in something that you have control over. And that usually limits your risk. Just by having control over the entire property, that in itself can limit your risk. Okay? So that's, I can't believe that's still a thing. Like, people think it's super risky to invest in the stock market. I mean, it can be if you don't know what you're doing, and it can be if you panic. That's the other thing too. If you panic with your money, then especially during a downturn, I mean, everyone that invested in tech last week on last Monday was ready to jump off their balcony, right? They lost 7% in 1 day, and they held on to it. Look, money went back up. So risk, okay? Now the last one here, 55% do it for this one single reason. It's really simple. Money. It's not playing with money, it's they don't have the money. They think they don't have the money to invest in the stock market. Most people don't. And this is why I always tell people, and I always talk about investing. I make pure investment videos a lot. However, I always say it's much easier, it's much better if you can find a way to increase your income than it is to invest $200 a month. If you can find a way to increase your income $200 a month, or increase your income $300 a month, $400, $500, that's much better than any sort of investment you can make that's a couple $100 a month. So finding a way to increase your income, that's what separates people. So this kills people. And so it may not even be a way of increasing your income. It might just be cutting expenses. If you're making 75 grand a year, and 74 is going to taxes, living expenses, so on, then cut something out. Cut something out that costs, downsize in rent, downsize in your housing, downsize in your rental apartment, downsize. I don't find a way to keep an extra few grand every single year and invest that. Okay? So 55% of people have money problems. So that's why they don't invest in the stock market. And so what are ways that you can increase that? What are ways that you can increase your income to the point where, here's the thing, is that, people always ask me these questions. I used to answer all these emails all the time. Like, people would have $500 to invest. If you have $500 to invest in the stock market, go for it. But get this, you're not going to have an amazing return on that $500. You're not going to make a lot of money. It's not going to really impact your future too much, that $500. However, if you invest $500 a month, that'll make an impact. Or if you use that $500, start your own business, all of a sudden you have disposable income of $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. I mean, me, I have many thousands of dollars every month in disposable income that I can use to invest now. So, I mean, that's what I would recommend you guys do. Most of you who haven't invested probably have money problems. So find a side job, start a side business, right? Get something going. Ask for a raise. Find something to increase your income or cut out your expenses so that you can invest properly in the market. I mean, even though $500 I say is the minimum you should be investing in one trade, I would probably recommend $1,000 would guarantee, not guarantee, but would create a much better return for you, I guess. When you take into account transaction fees, which are usually $10, if you're investing overseas, $50 per transaction, and when you sell, it's the same thing. So think about that. Increase your income, and that'll make you a better investor. Increase your income first, and then invest. That's what I did. Well, kind of, in a way. I mean, what I did was I had a corporate job making $30 an hour, and then I eventually quit that, and then I needed a new way to make some money, so I got really into stock market investing and starting online businesses and so on. Eventually I made some money from that, and then I got sick and whatever. But I built some side businesses in that time, to keep that income flow going. And that's what I think you guys should do. If you really want to get into stock market investing, you should find, that's an online thing. So find another online avenue where you can make money. And then invest that money. That way you're going to have more money to play with. You shouldn't be thinking like, oh, what should I do? I only have $1,000. This $1,000 means a lot to me. I mean, you should get to the point where you shouldn't have to worry about your investment in the stock market. I know this sounds weird, but I recommend this for people. If you're really, really worried about losing your $500 or $1,000 in the stock market, you should probably just try to up your income first to the point where you won't really matter too much if you were to go to zero. Sure, it would suck, it would make you feel bad, but it won't crush you. And that's what it is for me. So that's why, one of the reasons why I'm somewhat emotionless when I invest in stocks. That's one of my advantages I have. The stock goes down, like I remember I bought Google, a Google stock, and it went down dramatically, like within a few days of buying it. All right? I lost, I don't know what the percentage was, like 5%, no, not 5%, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%, somewhere around there in one day. And I was fine. Why? Because that money didn't really mean that much to me. And two, I'm holding on to the stock for the long term, right? So it can go up and down every single day, but as long as the yearly trend is upwards, it doesn't really matter too much to me. So I think that's going to kind of wrap this video up here. Now, I guess the last thing I want to touch on for this money thing. So most people don't have enough money to invest in the stock market. That's the main problem, right? And so I always like to throw out stats like this. So this came from a report from, I forget what magazine this was. It was some business magazine, maybe a Forbes. And it said only 33% of Americans can afford an unexpected expense of $1,000 or more. And so what I have to say to people that are in that position that are watching this right now is if you can't afford an unexpected expense of $1,000 or more right now, you shouldn't be thinking about investing in the stock market. You shouldn't. You should be thinking about building a business, trying to increase your income or cut down your expenses in some sort of way. Fix your money problem first, and then we can hop onto investing. That's what I would recommend. So I think that's going to wrap this video up. What do you guys think? And do you have any of these fears? Do you have any of these fears, or do you have any of these obstacles that the average millennial faces that prevents them from investing in the stock market? And how could you fix it? So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You can always check out my program, link down below, for stock market investing or building a side business, the Wealth Accelerator. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.